Okay. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Lucknow Meetup Group. Today, our topic is Introduction to MuleSoft Part 1, which is a part of our MIA certification preparation series. And our speaker is Ankita, who will be taking the session as and guiding us with the topic. Next slide, please. So, organizer, Akshib and me, we are the organizer for the meetup. So, Akshib is working in TCS, and I'm working in Neura Plus, recently joined. Uh, we'll skip the introduction part. Uh, yeah, Ankita, you can talk about yourself.
Okay, thank you, Abhishek. So, hi everybody. My name is Ankita Mishra. I have overall 13 years of experience in managerial, technical training, and quality analysis. Sorry. Currently, I am a contributing MuleSoft mentor as well as webinar speaker representing my organization, and I have done some certifications of MuleSoft developer level as well as architect level, and along with that, I'm also design thinking and leadership training certified. So moving on, Abhishek.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ankita, and thank you for accepting my invite and being a part of Lucknow Group to have this series. So, some safe harbor statements. So, both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. We are not representing our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purpose only. Organizer or presenter do not hold any responsibility that same solution will work for your business requirement. This presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. Next one. Some housekeeping. So we are recording the session. So the recordings will be available in the meetup page before 24 hours. And if you have any questions, any doubt, feel free to put it on chat or unmute yourself and ask it over here. So clarify all your doubt, whatever you have. And at last, when the meetup is done, you will be getting a feedback form. So we'll request you to please fill up the feedback form and let us know what next topic you would require or any suggestion you want to give us for our betterment. Please do that. All yours, Sankita. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Abhishek. Thank you so much. So, the agenda of this meeting is to help you prepare for your MIA certification exam. So, before I take you to this, I'll quickly take you to what is actually there in our MIA course. So, let me quickly share the page. Yeah. So, in our last session, in our last meetup, we have talked about that you can find all the study material in your Trailhead account. All you have to do is you just have to create your Trailhead account, which is trailhead.salesforce.com, and you should be able to get all your study materials consolidated at one place. This is a combination of white papers, some blogs, some articles, as well as some videos. And these entire package will help you to prepare for your certification exam. However, on top of that, thanks to Abhishek, we have actually started this series of MIA preparation where we are going to help you with all the topics, and we are going to cover these topics thoroughly. And I would also recommend you to please go through these topics side by side, actually simultaneously, and jot down your questions, note down your questions, and let us know so that we can take those questions during our meetings. So since this is our first series, we are going to start with the basics, which is introduction to MuleSoft. So I'm going to highlight that what is this IT delivery gap, what is new IT operating model, followed by API-led connectivity approach, API lifecycle management, Catalyst playbooks, and then we can have a round of question and answers. Once again, to take you to this trailhead, the topics that you will find here, they are provided in a haphazard manner. I mean, they are not sequential, according to me. So you can see under exam topic 1 they have given use of Catalyst playbook, then IT delivery gap, and then they have given agile project development, API lifecycle management, DevOps, and so on. So in order to streamline the entire course, what I have done, I have actually picked up the topics and segregated them in a form of a module. Okay, so I'm going to share a screenshot just to help you understand that how we are going to go ahead with this entire series. So as you can see, I have segregated these into some topic wise, I would say. So here in the first part of this series, we are going to cover from API basics, API-led connectivity, catalyst and closing IT delivery gap, and so on. So I'm going to share all these, details, or you can actually find these details in the trailhead also. All the topics will be covered here. It's just that we are going to streamline the entire module so that it will be easier for us to understand, especially for the beginners who are actually, starting everything from scratch. They are new to MuleSoft and integration background. For them, this particular path will be actually easy. All right. I hope we don't have any questions so far. Can we move on?
Yeah, Ankita.
All right. So before we talk about MuleSoft, let's first understand what is an integration platform. Okay. In our day-to-day life, everybody, all of us are using integration platforms. Talk about Amazon, talk about Book My Show, Netflix, Zomato, Big Basket, anything around you is an example of an integration platform. An integration platform is a cohesive set of integration software or products that enable our users to develop, secure, govern the integration flows, which will help you to connect with the diverse application systems, services, and data stores. So, creating just one single platform will actually help you to integrate or work with several other domains and applications in the IT ecosystem. It will also help you to meet the unique needs of its users, and it brings various types of integration together in one place. Now, talk about bookmyshow.com as an example. Whenever you have to book your tickets, to watch a movie, how do you do that? You first have to log into your Book My Show account that you can get either on your mobile interface or you can, get on a website. After that, you will be able to filter out the name of the movies, the name of the theaters based on their timing, their price, everything you are able to see in your user interface. You are able to select. Then you are also able to select the seats, right? Which seats would you like to book to watch your movie in the theater? And after that, once you add everything to the card, then it takes you to the banking page, right? Where you are able to do your payment. And that payment page is also depend, I mean, it will depend upon your choice whether you choose a debit card or a credit card, or you directly want to go ahead with net banking, or you are interested to use any third party wallets like Google Pay or Paytm or Mobivic. There are so many nowadays, right? So this is just one single application integrated with all these different domains. That is the beauty of an integration platform. Okay, so as beautiful it looks, or as I would say fascinating it looks from outside, this happens inside. Okay, behind the scenes there are so many calls which are made, so many platforms which are being integrated, so many application languages are being used to create one such application using our integration platform. Okay, MuleSoft is one such integration platform. The mantra of MuleSoft is to connect the world's applications, data, and devices to transform businesses. MuleSoft gives us a platform where you can actually integrate your application with diverse applications, multiple domains, multiple systems out there in the market. It was founded by Ross Mason in 2006. It was made public in 2017. Then it got acquired by Salesforce in 2018. Currently, you have more than 1,800 customers and more than 175,000 developers worldwide. Now, what's in the name? Where do we get this name from? MuleSoft is derived from the word mule, which is a hybrid of donkey and a horse. Here, donkey represents repetitive work, the task that we have to do repetitively, as well as horse represents speed. Now, the idea here was that as developers, we are innovative people, right? We would like to spend our energy and efforts in creating innovative things rather than doing the repetitive tasks again and again. And horse represents speed, that while you are innovating, while you are contributing to this new IT ecosystem or ever changing IT ecosystem, you cannot compromise with speed. This was the Mule mantra of MuleSoft. And once we will learn MuleSoft throughout this journey, you will get to understand that how these analogies are so relevant here. This platform actually emphasizes on the ease of development, quick and efficient assembly of the components, and less custom coding by hand. So the point here is how to integrate your application with multiple other applications in the market easily, quickly and efficiently without doing much of the coding. Okay, and that is what MuleSoft is all about. I believe so far we are good, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the challenges because of which these integration platforms were evolved. Okay. The only challenge I would say in the IT ecosystem right now is the change. We are growing like anything, we are changing like anything. Okay. Go back a few, go a few years back, visit a few years back, and then you will realize that the IT ecosystem was, quite different the way we are having it right now. Let's talk about hardware systems. So initially you only had, a monitor, a keyboard, a CPU, a proper computer systems with you. One house, one place might be having one computer system and it was too much. But right now you are living in the world of gadgets. Not only you have a monitor, computer, but you also own a laptop, you own a mobile phone, you own Alexa, AI systems, you have smartwatches, you have smart devices, everything is going digital around you. Talk about digital competition. Initially, to communicate with uh, uh, people around you or across the globe, we only had email systems. But right now, you are living in the world of Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. What are these? These are nothing but these are actually giving you a scope of evolving. Every now and then, IT ecosystem is changing around you, along with all the pillars of building an application, like whether it is digital competition or hardware, softwares, data analytics, data storage. So all these things are changing and evolving around you. This is the only problem. Okay, it might sound a little, what do you say, uh, irony. It is kind of an irony, but yes, this is the truth. The problem is initially, since we had less, a fewer things around us, the demands were less. The clients having very limited kind of demands. But right now, since we are evolving, we are changing, the demands are also increasing like anything. Now imagine, I'll give you a very basic example of Amazon. You as a user are able to do your shopping through a mobile phone also, by installing your mobile app, Amazon application on your phone. Plus you can visit your website through your desktop as well. Also, you can ask Alexa to book or buy something for you, right? Or you can also control everything through your smartwatch. Now, this is one single app that can be utilized by different users from different hardwares or gadgets, I would say, right? What is this? This is the problem here. Now, again, as fascinating as it sounds from a user's perspective, think about a developer who is behind the scenes and building these things for you. At one instance, he has to develop an application for people who are using a website through desktop. And just after a few years, since we are changing, we are evolving, we are growing, the same set of developers will have to start building the same kind of applications over a mobile interface. Now, because of this, the IT delivery gap is increasing. The reasons we have already spoken about, the reason is convergence of technologies, rapid growth of digital innovations, fixed set of resources. Now, the problem is the resources are fixed, right? And you have a limited time period. You cannot even compromise with your time. What could be the solutions? The solutions could be over outsourcing. You keep on hiring people, knowing all these diverse technologies around you, and ask them to cater to your client. But this is completely impractical. Or you can have know it all resources. Do you think this is practical? No. You cannot expect your resources, your employees to know everything depending upon the changes which are happening across the globe. So what is the result? Because of this IT delivery gap, The result is that this IT delivery gap is continuously growing. We are in a deadlock. It is slowing down the business and putting the revenue at risk. And to your surprise, the survey says that only half of the IT decision makers, according to only half of the IT decision makers, they were able to deliver their projects on time. Only half of the IT decision makers. However, the rest of the people were not able to deliver their projects on time, and the reason was growing misalignment with business teams, under resourcing, as well as time constraints. Now, what is the solution? The solution is the new IT operating model. The new IT operating model was the model proposed by MuleSoft that actually has helped us to overcome this particular situation. Now, how? The idea of this new IT operating model is to focus on creating reusable assets. Okay. Now, the thing is, instead of creating or instead of going through that project based approach or traditional monolithic approach, let's try to build something that can be reused. Reused, recycling, these terms we are quite familiar with in our global ecosystem also, and the same concept we are trying to apply in the IT ecosystem as well. What is the idea of reusability here? Again, I'll give you an example. Let's say I actually have to I'm working for a client, let's imagine, and I have to create an SRS document. Okay, you all know what SRS is, right? Software requirement specification. So I need to create a document for my client. Now the thing is that every time a person will be working with their clients, they will have to create this SRS document. Now either they can create the SRS document from scratch, or what can we do? We can actually create a template of that SRS document, share it in our drive with those stakeholders, and we can keep on using those templates to save some time. Now the same idea we would like to implement here in the world of IT, that let's focus on creating the assets in a way that they can be further reutilized no matter how my technology will change, or how my storage devices will change. I don't need to worry about it. The thing is that my template is ready now, whether I need to use this template while creating a mobile app or whether to create it for a website, my template will remain the same, right? Whether you use Amazon through your mobile application or whether you are using it through your website, you use Amazon. I mean, the interface of Amazon does not change, right? The purpose of using Amazon will not change. So the template will remain same. The only thing is that, sorry, the only thing is that the way we are going to create these assets should be able to integrate with any new technology or devices or applications or hardware systems around you. Okay, so the idea of new IT operating model is to start building reusable assets, enable your resources to know how to use these assets, okay, and focus on consumptions and innovations. This way, no matter how much your how many demands are increasing in the IT, in the market, no matter how the demands are increasing in the market, you don't need to worry about it. So the IT operating model actually focuses on building the reusable assets, consuming them, and while consuming, we actually encourage our stakeholders to give us feedback and help us understand the usage matrix. For example, if I'm creating an SRS template, so for SRS template, I would keep on taking feedback from my stakeholders. What are the kind of improvements they need? Because if you want to make an asset that can be reusable, you need to know if people are using it or not. And how can you know about it? By taking their feedback. Second thing is usage matrix. Now let's say in my organization, for a few of the clients or for rest of the clients, they are not even using an SRS. They are creating something else in a presentation way, or in a different document, in a different document basically. So in that case, I will not put my effort in building the SRS template again and again. So the idea here is to also identify the usage matrix. Okay. So based on these inputs, we will keep on producing the reusable assets and consuming it by encouraging this new IT operating model. Okay. And when we are creating reusable assets, we have to make sure that they are discoverable and they should be able to cater self service, which means people should be able to discover these assets, okay, and they should be able to use it the way they want to use it. All right. For example, Wikipedia. Nowadays, if you need any information, where do you go? You know, we have Wikipedia for that, right? You do not need to, I mean, Wikipedia does not need to market itself or does not need to send you, a marketing email or something to let you know that Wikipedia exists. Wikipedia is there and you know about it. So if you have any questions, any information that you need, you will directly go to Wikipedia and pull that out, right? Similarly, we need to create a space where all these assets can be discoverable, and whenever my stakeholders, my developers would need to build an application, they can directly go to that particular space, pull out that asset and use it the way they want to innovate it for their application. Okay, I hope this part is clear. Any questions, any confusions? Okay, so let's talk more about it with an example. Let's imagine you have, a set of users and they are using your web app application. Okay, what does this web app application do? This web app application helps you to place an order, to check the order status, to check the order history. Okay, initially they were using a website to, retrieve their order status and order history, and as a developer what you have done, you have put all their information in various base systems. Okay, for example, you are using Salesforce for storing the customer data, you are using SAP base system for using for, maintaining the customer data again, and you are using some on premises servers to maintain their order status and order history. Now, on top of that, you have built an application from where people should be able to log in to that website. They should be able to input their, details and should be able to fetch these details through the backend systems. Now, this is a project-based approach. You got a project and you have built an application catering to that particular project. So, what have we done, or what was the traditional approach? It is called as monolithic architecture. So what is monolithic architecture here? In monolithic architecture, you have done the entire coding, or you have written the code in a way that each of the layers are directly connected with each other. Now, what are the layers that I'm talking about? The first layer that you are seeing here is the layer of base systems where your data is residing. The second layer that you are seeing here is your logic layer, where you have written the logic to orchestrate the data coming from this base system. And this particular layer is the presentation layer through which you are presenting the output or the result to the end user. And what have we done? We have built a monolithic architecture. We have written, or we have, designed this architecture in a tightly coupled manner. So definitely we will be able to deliver this project on time and within budget. But the problem is that this application is monolithic and you will have only a single executable file. This entire architecture is point to point connectivity, okay, point to point design based. It is tightly coupled. Because it is tightly coupled, the entire architecture is brittle in nature, which means if anything will break, the entire architecture will break. Difficult to govern. If anything will fail to respond, you will not be able to identify or analyze which particular asset or which particular part is breaking. You need to go through the entire code again and again. Limited opportunity for reuse. Now, this is the set of code that you have created, you know, cater to a particular set of client through web application. Okay, but the way this has been designed will not be able to further reutilize it in any other applications. Okay, which can demand the similar kind of functionality. For example, you have different kind of e-commerce websites around you, and the e-commerce websites, behind the scenes, if you say their logic layer is same, right? Or let's not go to other application or other e-commerce websites itself. Let's stick to Amazon only. So Amazon, you whether use it through mobile app or whether you are using site, it will be doing the same job for you, right? But the way this architecture has been created, it will only cater to a web application. You will not be able to reutilize the same set of code in a mobile application or further to any other applications. Meets business requirement. Now there is a question mark. Okay, currently I'm able to cater it to my, desired clients or my desired set of audience, but what about the future? Am I going to, will I be able to meet the future business requirements with this kind of architecture? Yes or no? We don't know about it. Maybe, may not be. Let's again talk about the same, that imagine after a few months, your clients are asking for a mobile application for the similar, okay, for the similar application. Now your mobile, now your user wants to access the application through a mobile phone. Now what did we do about it? That this architecture is monolithic architecture. We cannot reuse the same logic, same base system in the another for the another interface. Okay, same functionality will be there. We are not compromising with the functionality at all, but we will not be able to repeat the same thing over a mobile application. Why? Because this was a monolithic architecture. Now this is where I'm talking about the repetitive task, the donkey work. Now what do my developers have to do? They will have to rebuild everything, recreate everything from scratch, just because a new technology is introduced in the market. And the problem right now is that we are continuously changing. Yeah, we are continuously evolving. Right now, you have mobile app. Definitely, after a few years, we will enter into the world of new technologies, right? Because this is not the end. Okay. So, if we will continue with this particular procedure, what will happen? We will have to continue doing the repetitive task for the upcoming technology in the market. And this is what we don't want to do. We don't want our developers to focus on doing the repetitive tasks. We want them to focus on innovative tasks. Okay. And hence, APIs were introduced. Okay. To overcome the situation, APIs were introduced. Okay. Till this part, I believe everybody is good. No questions. I cannot see anything. Yeah. Okay.
All good.
So, what is an API now? API stands for Application Programming Interface. All right. Now, what do we want to do? We want to introduce something that can act like an interface communicating between my, end user as well as my backend system. I do not want to have a direct connection between them. All right. Just like this waiter example, and I know this is, a very cliched example nowadays, but yes, I'm still gonna refer that. So, what does this waiter example tells us? That whenever you go to a restaurant and order the food, you do not directly go to the kitchen and order your food to the chef, right? You have a person in between who is your waiter. The waiter is responsible to take your order and share it with the chef. Once the food is ready, then it's the job of the waiter to get the food from the kitchen and serve it to the hosts. Okay. Now, what is the role of a waiter here? Is he the person who's going to eat the food? No. Is he the person who's going to cook the food? No. Then what is he doing here? He's actually trying to establish a communication between these two parties. Okay. Now, what is the advantage of having a waiter in between? First, encapsulation. Now, the chef doesn't have to worry about who the host doesn't have to worry about who the chef is. Tomorrow, if I change the chef, if the chef is being replaced or modified or updated or whatever, it will not bother my host because my function will continue as it is, right? They are not tightly coupled. Similarly, if I have to customize my data, if I have to secure my data, if I have to, modify my data, all I can do is I just need to inform this to waiter, and waiter will take care of that. Again, I will not have to worry about what is happening behind the scenes. That's the job of an API. Now, the best example that I generally give to people nowadays is Google Pay. You all know how to use Google Pay, right? Now, what is the job of a Google Pay? Is Google Pay a bank? No. Is Google Pay a website from where you want to buy something or you're ordering food from? No. It's just a waiter for us, right? Now, imagine you are, ordering your food on Zomato, and then you have to do a payment from your ICICI bank. So either you can do it directly or you can use a Google Pay. Now, if you're using Google Pay, then this Zomato does not need to worry about the bank from where you are giving me the money, and neither this particular ICICI bank will get to know that, okay, where you are actually utilizing the money. Okay, so there is a data encapsulation which is happening. Second thing is, tomorrow, let's say if my ICICI account is not working, what can I do? I can easily switch to SBI account without hampering my business, without hampering my, the thing I actually wanted to do. I wanted to order food, and I'm still ordering my food without worrying about which bank it is, right? Because Google Pay is taking care of that. I do not need to worry about whether my ICICI bank is working or not. So I will not need to worry about anything now. This API will take care of it. So now what we are going to do, instead of sending a direct request to the backend system and getting a direct response from them, we are going to send a request to the API. API will communicate with the backend system and it will get me the response from the backend system. Okay. So basically, API stands for Application Programming Interface. They actually acts like Legos. Okay. How do you use a Lego? Legos are basically, some building blocks that you can use to build whatever you want to build, right? So if this is a piece of a green triangle, you can either use it to build a temple, or either you can use it to build a building, right? But this green triangle will remain the same. So in a similar way, the APIs are the building blocks of our new IT operating model. They serves as a digital glue, and they allows application to exchange data and securely talk to each other. Okay, so now these APIs will be in the middle of your sender and the receiver, and the responsibility of the APIs will be to establish this communication and to create this digital glue in your IT ecosystem. Now, sometimes we get confused between web services and APIs. They both are actually same. The only difference is web services are the APIs over the network. So if you are using your APIs over the internet, they will be called as web services. Okay, and the idea of these APIs are to Legoify the entire organization. Now, instead of creating the monolithic architecture, or instead of going through a project based approach, we will be going with this new IT operating model where we will focus on creating these reusable APIs, and these APIs will help us to start creating a connectivity between the two endpoints, okay, or multiple endpoints, I would say. So, with that idea, new IT operating model can be achieved through this API-led connectivity approach. Now, what this API-led connectivity approach says, that instead of building this project-based architecture, let's segregate these layers into three different ways. The first layer is called as system API layer. The second layer is called as process API layer, and the third layer is called as experience API layer. Now, what is the job of a system API layer? The job of a system API layer is to build the APIs that can communicate with the end systems where your data is residing. Okay, so what will be the job of these APIs? The job of this API is only to manage the data which is residing in these databases, or the base systems, I would rather say. Okay, so whether we have to create a data, I mean, add a data, retrieve the data, delete the data from the backend system, or we want to secure the data, everything, the responsibilities will be given to the APIs which will be created in the system API layer. Similarly, you have a process API layer. Now, what is the role of a process API layer? To orchestrate the data coming from the system APIs. What do you want to do with this data? Okay, you have the data of your customer, you have the data of their order status, but what do we want to do? We actually want to write a logic on top of it, right? We want to orchestrate this data. So this is the logic layer. Process API layer is the logic layer. So the APIs that we are building here, the role of these APIs will be to communicate with these system APIs, to pull out the data from their end system and orchestrate it, design it the way you want it, the way business demands for it. And the last layer, or the first layer, I would say, will be the experience API layer. As the name says, the APIs that we are building in this layer is responsible for presenting the data to the end user. Okay, so now my Data management will be done by system API. My logic or the processing or the data processing or writing the logic on top of it will be done by the process APIs, and the data presentations will be done by the experience APIs. Now I have three different layers dedicated for different tasks. And coming back to the older example, what if we have to build a new application where we are catering to our users using a mobile applications? So now using this particular approach, what do we need to do? We will only need to focus on creating the experience APIs, because my logic layer will be the same, my system API layer will be the same. So we will reutilize these APIs, and we will only be focusing on creating one experience API that can cater to my mobile API users. And this is the beauty of API led connectivity approach. This is the concept of new IT operating model, where we mainly focus on building the reusable assets. What is the job of these reusable assets? Now, these reusable assets will actually help you to create a loosely coupled architecture, right? Now, they are not communicating directly with each other. So, today, let's say if this particular API is not working, then we do not need to redesign, or we do not need to revisit all the codes. To understand that why this particular application is not working, or if this is not working, or if you are making certain changes to this API, the changes will not have any impact on these particular APIs. Unlike before what was happening in the monolithic architecture, if one part of the code is not working, you might have to change the entire piece of your code that you have written for the application. But right now, if anything is breaking, you do not need to worry about the another assets. They must be working fine, or they are not dependent on each other, to be very honest. Okay. One more thing is that each API that you are seeing here, they are independent product. They all will be completely independent of each other. They will be governed independently, managed independently. They are scalable. They can be independently scaled up and scaled down depending upon the business requirement. Okay, so this level of flexibility is given to us by API led connectivity approach. Okay, any questions related to this API led connectivity approach? Because if this part is clear, we are almost, um, we have actually found out the mantra of MuleSoft basically. Okay, so this API led connectivity approach, it is a method of it is a method to connect data to applications through reusable and purposeful APIs. These APIs are developed to play a specific role by unlocking data from the systems, that's the job of our system API, composing data into processes, the job of our process APIs, and delivering an experience API. Okay, through your APIs created in the experience API layer. What are the advantages now? Again, with this approach also, we will be able to deliver everything on time and within budget. The assets are reusable. I told you, right? Any of the assets that we are seeing, we just now saw that all these assets that we had created for our web app API, now they all are being utilized and reused in the mobile API as well. Readiness for change. Each API is an independent product. You can modify, you can change whatever you want to change at any given time. So let's imagine that we are working with on-premises based systems. But tomorrow, let's say I do not want to continue with my on-premises based system. I would like to move on to AWS. So what do I need to do? I just need to create a system API talking to the AWS system, and I will have to route all the calls from this particular API to that particular API. Rest everything will be as it is. Rest everything will be intact. We do not need to worry about any of the changes in the entire application. And that is where it contributes even if we are changing, even if we are evolving. So if we want to change from one technology to another technology, that's absolutely fine. No problem. You just have to integrate this particular application to that new technology that you would like to continue with, and you are sorted. Plug and play, just like Legos. Okay. So you remember the example of the triangle I gave, right? That triangle can be used to build a building and can be used to build a temple also. So same thing we are trying to do here. Okay. So the applications, these APIs are built for the readiness for change. They're easy to govern, secure, and scale. Fast delivery. Now you can imagine how fast the delivery will happen. Only you just need to replace or modify the asset depending upon the business market. Rest everything will be as it is. Okay, and definitely at least we are in a situation where we can say that okay, tomorrow if anything will change, we should be able to meet the business requirements. Now there is no question mark, at least, right? We are in a situation where we can state okay, we might be able to cater to the business requirements because of this particular architecture, right? Any questions? Okay, all right. Now, if we continue working with this API-led connectivity approach, it will lead to the building of application network. What is an application network? It is a way to connect applications, data, and devices through APIs that exposes some or all of their assets and data into the network. It represents a cultural shift, okay, from your traditional approach to your modern approach. Now we are actually in a cultural shift, and not only from traditional to modern or from traditional to API led connectivity, but also from one technology to another technology, from one device to another device. Now this shift is very easy. It gives an emphasis, or it puts an emphasis in not how many assets are present on the application network, but rather how many consumers are getting value from it. And the entire application network is recomposable. It will bend, but it will not break. It will build further change. Okay, so depending upon the change you need, depending upon the change that needs to be incorporated in the application, you can just remold it. You can bend it, modify it depending upon the requirement. MuleSoft runtime fabric, and how does it enhance the deployment of application? Okay, Mohan. So deployment is something that we are going to cover in the next series. So is it okay if I'll answer this question in our next series? Because deployment is something that we'll have to cover in detail. Um, Let me know, because we'll have to stick with the time. Okay. So moving on to our API development lifecycle. So what is this API development lifecycle now? See, the point is we are focusing on API-led connectivity approach. Okay. So in API-led connectivity approach, the building blocks are APIs. So if APIs are not built in a correct manner, it might hamper my entire ecosystem. Okay. It might hamper my entire application network. So the focus here is to build the API in a way so that the APIs can be changed or modified or updated the way we want to, depending upon the requirement. Okay. Okay, how do connectors contribute to Moon? I'll get back to your questions. Okay, just let me finish this and I'll answer both your questions, because since they are not related to the current topic right now, I'll take it after that. So the API development lifecycle, we basically focus on the design first approach. Design first approach means that first you design the architecture and then you start building it. Imagine you have to build a house. You do not directly go to the construction site with all your iron rods and bricks and cements and everything and start constructing it, right? What do? You first make a plan. You first make a design on a paper, on your software, and then you take approvals, feedbacks from different stakeholders. Based on their feedback, based on their approvals, then only you go ahead and start constructing your house, right? Same thing we try to do in case of APIs. Since we want to make it reusable, we make sure that we first create a design, and then we take feedback from our stakeholders, so that we can modify the changes or we can update the changes in the design phase itself, because once you are into the development phase, it is difficult to undo the change or incorporate the changes again. So in API development lifecycle, we basically focus on the design first approach. We focus on taking constant feedback. We make sure that the assets are discoverable and self-service. It provides self-service, because if they are not discoverable, then people will not be able to reuse it. Okay. The entire procedure is iterative in nature, focusing on reusability and consumption. So let me take you to the diagram now. This API development lifecycle can be represented by three concentric circles, as you can see here. The innermost concentric circle represents the design phase. What happens in design phase? As I told you, that we first design the architecture. We do not directly jump onto the development of the APIs. So we'll first design the API specifications. We will simulate it. We will mock them so that people should be able to test it, try it. Unless and until they will not be able to try it, they will not be able to give us a feedback, right? So we'll create this design. We will mock it to get the feedback. Once we'll get the feedback, we will validate whether these feedback, should be incorporated or not. If they needs to be incorporated, reiterate the entire process. Make changes in your design, again simulate it, get the feedback. Okay? Once this entire process is through, your architecture is valid, then you will release this API specification. Once your API specification is released, then you start moving into the development phase where you build the application and test the application. And once the API is ready, then you move into the deployment phase. Okay. Now in deployment phase, first you will definitely maintain the version because the entire process is iterative in nature. You will make sure to secure your applications. You will provide a place where where your application can be deployed. Like you have Cloud Hub, you have RTF, you have on premises, you have different other cloud computing services. So you need to integrate your platform with that particular third party where you can deploy the application, and you can give the users a way to register to these APIs. Once the application is live, you need to make sure that you keep an eye on the health check, you keep on monitoring the API. You will analyze if there are any errors, any spikes, any if and buts which are happening to your API. You may troubleshoot, you definitely need to troubleshoot if there are any kind of errors, any bugs, any defects in your application. Make sure at any given time your application should be scalable depending upon the business requirement, and you need to be responsive to your end user. So these are the three phases of your API development lifecycle: the design phase, the development phase, as well as the deployment phase. Okay. So, Mohan, since we are talking about deployment, I think I can answer your question now. So, basically, what happens, there are different ways of deploying the applications. Okay. As I told you, that MuleSoft gives you a platform to integrate your application with various other applications, domains, technologies in the market. Now, let's say your user wants to deploy their applications on their own on premises. Then we support it. Okay. MuleSoft actually supports that. Similarly, MuleSoft is also integrated with something called as Cloud Hub, which is nothing but it is, AWS cloud computing services. I do not want to go deep dive into it because we are also going to cover the same thing in the upcoming series. So just to give you an idea, we have something called as Cloud Hub, which is nothing but AWS EC2 instances, as you can say. So AWS is a cloud computing services giving you n number of features, right? Like load balancing, high availability, zero deployment, or zero downtime. So all these features are also in Cloud Hub where you can deploy the applications. Now, as you can see, there are, at high level, if you feel, there are two ways where the people can go ahead and deploy their applications. Either they can choose AWS, either they can choose Cloud Hub, which is integrated with MuleSoft, or they can go ahead and deploy their application on premises. Now, in on premises, the entire headache of maintaining the, right from maintaining the hardwares to doing the deployment to managing the mule runtimes, then managing the load balancing, high availability, everything needs to be done by the customer itself. So for these kind of customers, MuleSoft has actually given us RTF, Runtime Fabric. So runtime fabric is something that can be utilized by our customers on premises services. So on premises, how they can use it? They only need to worry about maintaining their hardwares or technologies. They do not need to worry about deploying the runtime, updating the runtime, managing it. They don't need to worry about it because that part MuleSoft will do it for them. Okay, so Mule Runtime Fabric is basically an add-on, I would say, to the deployment feature integrated with our Anypoint platform on MuleSoft that actually, helps our customers who would like to go ahead with on premises but do not want to take the extra headache of maintaining and managing all the mule applications and mule runtimes, patching and everything on their server. So it's kind of an add-on which is given to us by MuleSoft, that MuleSoft says that okay, you don't want to deploy it on cloud hub, don't do that. You deploy it on your own on-premises services, whether it is your your local application local devices, or you would like to go ahead with any cloud computing services. It's your choice, but rest of the headache we will take care of that. Okay, Mohan, are you able to understand at high level what is this runtime fabric? Mohan, I hope you are there. Okay, I'm taking it as a yes. All right. And second question, I think, Mohan, that you had asked is about connectors. So connector is actually a USP of our MuleSoft. As I'm telling you that, see, these system APIs, they are able to integrate with different other base systems in the market. Okay, this is a very basic example that I can show you right now. So let's say you have created an API that needs to integrate with Salesforce and manage all the applications and data residing in the Salesforce. Then connectors basically helps you to connect your application with any third party application in the market. Okay, so the point is that while you are connecting your APIs with these third party, you do not need to know about Salesforce. Okay, you do not need to be a Salesforce expert for that. Okay, the connectors will do the job for us. It's just like a wire basically that helps you to connect two different applications or two different systems with each other. Okay, so with that wire, you do not need to know about the coding, you do not need to know about the actual system, you do not need to know about the where the data is residing, nothing. The connector will do the job for you. So this is the connector that actually helps us to connect our Mule applications with any other third party applications in the market. Today with Mule applications, you are able to connect with Salesforce, AWS, NetSuite, Java. There are so many third party applications. You talk about it and you'll find all the connectors which are already present in the marketplace. Gmail, Workday, LinkedIn, there are so many connectors we already have in the market. Okay. All right, so this is about API development lifecycle, a little bit about deployment and connector, but don't worry about connector and deployment. We are actually going to cover in the next session also. Okay. Now I'm going to take you through the catalyst approach for any business. Okay, not only MuleSoft, but for any business, any application in the market. What is the only thing that we aim for? Customer success, right? We know customer is the king. So whatever we are doing today, we make sure that the customer success is achieved. And Catalyst approach is one such framework and methodology which is introduced by MuleSoft. Catalyst approach says that to achieve the customer success, there are three pillars that we need to focus on. The first pillar is business outcome. What does business outcome represent? It represents that whenever you are working to achieve a business, to work on a project, you make sure that you understand the clear outcomes and the KPIs. Until unless you don't know the business requirements, you don't understand your customers' requirement, you will not be able to contribute to it. So business outcomes actually help us to understand the requirements, the risks involved, the time taken by the entire project or the project team to work on the project, the deadlines, the costing, everything comes under your business requirement or business outcomes. So the first pillar of your Catalyst approach is to understand your business outcomes. Second is technology delivery. Now, when you are working for a particular application, you need to understand your technology. You need to understand that do you have those tools or proper applications using which you will be able to build the applications that your customer is demanding right now. So technology delivery is also important. So for MuleSoft, we have one such technology which is called as Anypoint Platform. Again, this is something that we are going to cover in our next meetup. So we have to understand our Anypoint platform well, as well as how we can work with cross projects. And the third pillar is organization enablement. Okay, now you know your business outcomes. Now you know you have a technology as well. But do you know your organization? Do you have resources who will be able to use this technology, understand this business outcomes? So this is the third pillar. The third pillar has C4E team. C4E team basically is responsible to manage all the assets that you have created. Since we will be working on new IT operating model and our focus will be on to create these reusable assets. So there must be a team who should be able to maintain all my assets at one place, right? So this is my center for enablement team. Second is internal support. Do we have internal support that can be provided to our resources? Do we have proper training systems to enable our resources to use this technology to understand the business outcomes in a in a descriptive way? So if these three pillars are checked, we will be able to attain the customer success. So who will help us to understand these business outcomes? So for this, we have something called as catalyst playbooks. Okay, we have something called as MuleSoft Catalyst playbooks. So in the Catalyst playbooks, there are certain pointers which are described in a very detailed manner, where you can understand that okay, if these pointers are checked, it means that my business outcome is achieved. If these pointers are checked, then my technology delivery is achieved. If these pointers are checked, then my organization enablement is achieved. So MuleSoft playbooks, it is available. You can check it out on your C4E websites as well as on Salesforce websites. You should be able to find that. Once you download it, you will be able to go through all the pointers given in these playbooks, and this playbook will actually help us to understand that how we can understand all these three pillars to attain this customer success. Okay, so this catalyst approach is also called as OBD, also termed as outcome based delivery. Okay, so with this, I am done with my first part of MIA series, which is Introduction to MuleSoft. We have covered API basics. We talked about API. We talked about API led connectivity approach. Then we learned about this IT delivery gap and catalyst playbook. Then we talked about API lifecycle management. We have understood that how this API specification is important while saving time and hassle, because API lifecycle management actually starts from the design phase. So in design phase, if your API specification is valid and thorough, the development and the deployment phases are easier. Okay, and MuleSoft training learning part. So this is something which I'll take you through this trailhead. Uh, yeah. So in this training learning path, they have actually introduced us with different stakeholders. So who are these MuleSoft developers? Who are these integration architects, platform architects, and what is the role of the operations team? So developer, as the name itself says, the people who are diverged into, uh, in-depth coding of an application. So when the API is built, then the development team, the developers are responsible to define, create that particular API while understanding the, coding part of it. To be very precise, the technical part of it. Who are the integration architect? Basically, integration architect and platform architect are responsible to understand the project in a way that how the project can be further utilized to cater to the application network as a whole. Okay, because now we are not going ahead with project based approach. You do not build an application just to cater a project, but when we are building a project or an application, we are making sure that how can we contribute to the entire IT ecosystem, how to contribute to the entire application network. That should be the idea. So these platform architects and integration architects, they try to understand that how this application can be built, how this project can be built, so that you we should be able to create n number of reusable assets, and these assets can be further utilized in our application network. Okay, so this is the role of our architects. Platform architects are basically into making strategies, and integration architects basically helps into the technical aspect of achieving these strategies. And the operation teams comes into the picture once the deployment has happened. So once the application is deployed, then to monitor the applications, to do a proper health check of that application, if there are any issues, then at least to handle the L1 issues, or if let's say the issue needs a technical dive in, then these are the people who actually route the cases to the technical core technical team to sort out the defects and the bugs and help our client achieving their business solutions. All right, so this is our training learning part. All right, so these are the topics that we have completed today. And since this is a series that we are running to help you to prepare for your MIS certification, in the next meetup, we are going to cover the part two of our MIS certification, that is Introduction to Anypoint Platform. So, in this particular meetup, we are going to talk about how Anypoint Platform can be used to integrate with our API lifecycle management. What is this exchange asset type? What is connector? So, Mohan, again, we are going to talk about connectors here. Then we will talk about a use case, that how can you connect a particular cloud system to a company's ERP system with Anypoint platform. And all the topics that we are covering right now can be summarized in these instructor-led videos, which are provided to us in, again, this Trailhead link. Okay, getting started with Anypoint platform. So we will be covering all these topics. Along with that, I'm also going to highlight that how you can go ahead and revise your topics through these instructor-led videos. Okay, any questions?